Welcome back. It is Wednesday, January 18th, and as I mentioned, we have our segment with Owatonna Today Show supporter, Owatonna Public Utilities, and we get to meet Beth Fondell. How are you, Beth?
I'm great, thank you.
You're welcome. First of all, you are the, I have to get this right, it's a mouthful, Director, Financial and Administrative Services.
That's correct.
Correct, at the Owatonna Public Utilities, and how long have you been in the position now?
I have been there just over a year now. I started January 3rd of last year.
I called you new. Do you still feel new?
I do. Okay. The time has really flown by.
It does. I guess I was thinking it was only a matter of months, but it's a little over a year. Well, we're very glad you're here.
Thank you.
Of course, took the position that Mike Bruno used to have at the Public Utilities, and then as our viewers know, he kind of filled in as interim general manager for a little while.
Right.
And exited that position. So you're here. We have a new GM, and
yes,
and we are raring to go. So tell us a little bit about yourself. Where do you come from, Beth?
Well, I live in Owatonna with my husband, and I've been here for over 9 years.
Okay.
My former position was with Riverland Community College.
Okay.
And I was a vice president there over finance and facilities.
Okay.
And so just glad to be able to make a change to be here in town, close to home, and working for the public utility company.
For Riverland, then you were commuting. You were not located at this
That's correct.
Campus. Okay.
Yeah, most of the time I was in Austin.
Okay. Yeah, that can get to be a little dicey. Not this winter, but when we have some of the bad snow and ice and things,
right.
It got to be a challenge, I'm sure, going there. Well, we're very glad you're in the position. On a day-to-day basis, Beth, what does your job have you doing at the utilities?
Well, I'm ultimately responsible for the financial portion of the business,
okay.
and then I also get a little bit involved in our IT department, and then I also have a little the maintenance, the vehicle maintenance person,
okay.
Reports to me. So
okay.
I do a little bit of everything.
Go in under that title.
But that's
there,
okay. It
yeah.
provides a lot of variety, which I really like in a job.
Okay. Well, good for you. It sounds like you're a very good fit, having come from the environment that you did and have a lot of great background. I understand you're doing a very good job.
Well, thank you.
And I also understand that in addition to the regular maybe job description, those things that you just talked about, that you're involved now in the repurposing of the power plant. And so that's one of the things I know that we wanted to talk about today. Maybe we should go back to kind of square one and say, when we're talking about repurposing the power plant, how did that conversation even come about? And then we'll kind of bring everybody up to speed.
Sure. Well, there were actually some plans in place a while ago to decommission the power plant, to really remove the generation portion of it. So this isn't something that's brand new, but the big flood of 2010, as you all know, had a pretty significant impact on the utility company.
Sure.
And so that kind of put this plan on a faster track.
Okay.
And so we're doing that. And then, of course, with the flood event, it offered up some support from FEMA. So we want to make sure that we take advantage of that through this entire process.
Okay. All right. So something that was already in the works, and then Mother Nature gave us a little kind of kick in the pants.
It did. It
jump-started
did.
a few things. So that's the reason this is happening now. Tell us about what maybe has happened so far. What have been some of the discussions as we've led up to this point? And I would guess that our viewers don't know a whole lot about it unless they're reading and seeing maybe things in the newsletter that kind of keep them up to speed. But
right.
What has been happening so far?
Well, the flood event really left a void in some of our operations, and we're making do as best we can. So what we needed to do is address, those immediate needs, as well as it kind of offered up an opportunity for us. We kind of took a bad event and tried to make a positive out of it and say, let's take a step back, let's look at our operations in total and say, how can we create a more efficient, a more effective operation? And so we hired an architect firm to help us through the process, and it really developed into a master planning effort.
Wow.
So it kind of extended beyond just the power plant building itself.
Okay.
And we have a master plan that we'll be bringing to our commission this month at the monthly meeting for them to hopefully approve. And so, we kind of looked at what's working well right now, what things could we do better, how are departments interacting with each other, and how could we make improvements there, and just kind of logistically, what could we improve upon, and of course, how can we use that power plant building to our advantage, since there will be no real active generation going forward.
Okay. So as you're looking at all these things, and everything goes in front of our Public Utilities Commission, of
Correct.
course, they are would you call them is it kind of the governing body?
It is.
For
That's
the
exactly
utilities?
what they are.
And maybe, again, we should kind of establish that relationship. How does that work? When do they meet? And this is obviously the kind of thing that gets brought up to our OPU commissioners.
Sure. Yeah, it's a formal plan, so we want to get the commission's approval on it. Our commission meets monthly on the fourth Tuesday of every month. And right now we're meeting at the fire hall in their training center because our basement has still not recovered from the flood. It will be soon, so that's good news for us. So yeah, we'll be taking this to them this month for their approval.
Are there things about it that you can share or not able to before they approve things? Or?
Sure. Yeah, I can give you some highlights of what has evolved from our master plan. First of all, we looked at some options. Specifically, we said, should we even stay where we are? The flood has really had a significant impact on people, even though we've had floods before, but not to that extent.
Exactly.
So we evaluated, should we move? Should we go somewhere else? But in the long run, after all the discussions, we've decided, you know what, we need to stay where we are. Okay. It's a nice central location. We have a beautiful historic building that we don't want to abandon. We think it's in the best interest of the city to stay there. And we have a huge space in the power plant to try to repurpose and use for our operational purposes.
Okay, all right. So that will keep as far as we know then, if this all gets approved, and it sounds like plenty of thought and planning has gone into it, we will still have you located then at the power plant.
Yes,
okay.
As opposed to moving somewhere else. We also really talked about consolidation. It's in our best interest to try to consolidate our operations, really for effectiveness of just our internal staff to be working together, but also for our customers. Because right now, sometimes customers come in and they go and see our customer service representatives, and then maybe they have to go and see our engineering department, and that's in a completely different building.
Okay.
So we would like to try to consolidate to make it easier for our operations as well as for our customers.
Okay, maybe a little closer there so you can go down the hallway rather than to an entirely different building.
Right.
Are there some things that are not going to be able to be used? And I ask this because I think were there some storage facilities or some things that are not going to be used anymore by the utilities? Didn't some things get moved off after the flood?
Actually, one of the big voids that was left was our meter shop because that was completely totaled. And so we're looking at moving or creating a meter shop within the power plant building.
Oh, okay.
So we recognize that it's not an ideal location for that, but there's very few perfect spaces for facilities. So one of the challenges with that is we're going to have to try to make sure we have proper access to the building, probably to the back of the building, to get into that meter shop.
Okay.
So that's one of the priorities because that's an immediate need as a result of the flood.
Sure. And you've been kind of making do.
We have.
In the meantime here, so that would kind of go on first step maybe in the timeline too, and we'll talk a little bit about that. Are there any unique things that come into play? Is it actually a historic building per se or categorized as such that are going to be kind of challenging in this whole process?
It's not.
Okay.
It is not on the historic register.
Okay.
So that allows us a little more flexibility. But we could have some challenges just because of the floodplain issues. That's why you hire the architects and the engineers to work through those issues.
Those are the experts in those things, aren't they?
Yes.
Yeah, to do that. How long has the power plant been there?
Oh, my goodness.
Do you have a year on that? Wait, Roger's in the peanut gallery. Does he know? 1920s. Okay, we get a little help from Roger Wareheim, who's in the background. Roger. In the 1920s, so we're approaching 100 years that's there. And it would be a shame if it sat vacant. We all know what happens to vacant buildings, so very glad to hear that there will be people and activities.
And there would still be some liabilities with hazardous materials and things like that, so we'll be addressing that as part of this project as well.
Okay, so should this be approved then by the Commission, which is upcoming, what are some of the first steps that people in the community might see, might hear about?
Well, first of all, we're going to be removing the generating equipment from the power plant because we really can't do anything with that space until we do that.
Okay.
We're also going to be working on a detailed design process to get us through the next phases, and we have the master plan in phases, so that allows us some flexibility and also time for it to evolve and change over time.
Okay, so as things still need to happen on a day-to-day basis with the utilities, it's not that you can shut down and
Right.
say, okay, we're going to do this, this, and this. There have to be ways to make all of that work while everything is happening. Any idea as to how long a process from start to finish this looks like it might be?
It's going to depend upon the funding availability, because we need to sit down. Of course, after if we get the approval from the commission, then we'll take a step back and say, okay, how do we want to get this accomplished? What parts do we want to do right away? What can wait? And kind of do some more financial planning on it. But it'll be multiple years.
Okay, well, one would expect that.
Yes.
It's not any small. I mean, you talk about removing generators, and in my mind, that's got to be a huge job.
Yes.
Probably.
Lots of planning involved.
Exactly. Well, it sounds like you have your hands full, and that's as Roger called you, the champion of the power plant repurchasing project. So we'll be able to have you on again, and maybe I know we talked a little bit about maybe coming on site and seeing some of those things and doing a filming on location, so you can kind of show some of the things that are happening, and maybe during the course of this project we'll be able to do that.
Sure, that would be great.
Thank you very much, Beth.
Thank you
for being here, part of our public utilities, doing a great job, and being a part of this project and keeping our viewers informed. It's very nice to have you.
Great. Well, thank you so much. It's my pleasure.
And we will see you again.
Okay.
All right. We'll take a break for our supporters, and then we will have our Steele County Humane Society. Stay with us.